The Republican tax bill was a massive multi-trillion-dollar giveaway to corporations and the 1%. But in the wake of its passage, a lot of corporations, including things like Comcast and Walmart and AT&T, put out these big press releases about bonuses that they're giving to their workers, supposedly totally because of the tax bill. Doesn't matter if they'd been negotiating with the union for a year for these things. It doesn't matter if the factories they were announcing had actually been announced months before. It was so because of the tax bill. They wanted you to believe. And one of the reasons they did that, all that PR, was because while they're giving out these $1,000 bonuses, in many cases, as we've broken down over the past few weeks, they were also cutting thousands of jobs, or they were limiting wage increases for their workers and things of that sort. And often with the fine print, the bonuses weren't what they appeared to be anyway. They would say 100,000 workers getting $1,000 bonuses, up to $1,000 if you'd been working for us for 20 years. So for the vast majority of people, they wouldn't be getting anything like that. But it all sounded good, and we've done what we can to fight back against that narrative. But now let's find out if it's actually working, at least in a test case. Fox News went to a cafe to find out what actual voters think about these bonuses being given out by corporations in comparison to the huge amounts of money the corporations are getting. Here's what they found out.
Nancy Pelosi said that breadcrumbs are what these $1,000 bonuses are. What does a $1,000 bonus mean to real people?
Well, for one thing, it's a very big deal. You know, when you've worked for a company and they want to give you $1,000 just because our president gave us a tax break, to me, it's a big deal. We've been called deplorables and everything else, but this deplorable appreciates those breadcrumbs.
Very much. You also had something to say about respect of this president.
He didn't say anything about deplorables. I feel like they told her to say something like that because nothing about deplorables actually came up there. And so she said it's a big deal, which if you actually got $1,000 would be a big deal. Of course, if Walmart is then gonna cut your job, not as big of a deal. And also not because of the tax cut President Trump gave us. In many cases, these are the bonuses they get at the end of every year. Or again, unions have been negotiating it for a year. But at least for some voters, none of that matters. The message has gone through as intended.
Well, look, in some ways I understand what she's saying. $1,000 is a big deal to a lot of workers. And so if she got a $1,000 check and she's happy about it, great, that makes sense. Now, it's a little bit like what Republicans have been charging Democrats with all these years, where they say, oh, they just hand out goodies to be able to get their voters to vote for them.
Yeah.
Kind of like a $1,000 check. They accuse Obama of handing out Obama phones. They say, oh yeah, they're just giving away money to these people who don't want to work. And even in things like their earned income tax credit, where you literally have to work in order to receive it. So now when they give away goodies like Santa Claus, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, well, I like those breadcrumbs. They're yummy for my tummy. So that's part of it. But the other thing is, to be fair to her and unfair to Trump and the Republicans and Fox News.
I like it so far.
she didn't necessarily hear the story of all the Sam's Clubs that closed. So she didn't get fired. Other people at Walmart got fired. At the same time, they closed down a lot of stores. Thousands of people lost their jobs. But since she didn't lose her job and she got a check, she thinks, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna vote for them again. Now, again, and she doesn't know the context that most of those companies, Walmart, AT&T, et cetera, doing those checks, at most, it is 10% of only 1 year of their tax cuts. They're keeping the other 90%, and then the rest of the years, they're keeping 100%. So without that context, because she doesn't watch the Young Turks, you could understand why she had the reaction that she did.
If you know her, please link her to one of our videos because we're not against her. Like if these bonuses were what they seem to be, that would be awesome. We are exactly the people who'd be pushing for that and far more, which I'll get into, but it's not. She is being deceived, unfortunately. We broke down for a number of these different companies. Their bonus packages amounted to something like 0.027% of the revenue for a year, even though they're gonna be making billions off these tax cuts, and the execs at those companies will be making, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars every single year from these tax cuts. So they are just breadcrumbs because they're intended to deceive you, to send you off a path where you never realize that huge quantities of money are being given to the people with all the real political and economic power in this country. And I mentioned something about this like a week ago, that tiny bit of money for regular workers, tons of money for the rich. And some conservative woman tweeted to me, man, you're just so mad that they're getting this $1,000, aren't you? I love your tears, or something like that. And I didn't respond to her because she seemed kind of stupid. But if I had, I would have said, no, I'm not against the $1,000. Here's what I want. Let's see if you actually are in the corner for these people, like the people in that cafe. I don't want $1,000. I want a livable goddamn wage for her. I want consistent raises that keep up with or exceed cost of living increases. I want her insurance to not skyrocket because 13 million people are gonna be thrown off their insurance plans because of that tax bill. I want experiments in basic income. I want her to get free access to health insurance. I want her kids to get free access to schooling and things like that. I want actual economic power to be put back in the pockets of the people who are doing the real work in America. I don't want one time, maybe $1,000 if you've been working there for 20 years. I want real substantive change to the entire goddamn economic system we have. Do you support that? No, you want breadcrumbs.
Preach it, brother. Teach it. I didn't know I was on with Pastor John today. Okay, and I like how the Republicans have outdone Marie Antoinette here. Oh, they don't have bread. Well, then give them breadcrumbs.
It's bread and circuses. The bread is the $1,000 for some Walmart employees. The circuses, ICE raids and feuds with North Korea and other entertaining BS like that. And they're hoping that you will be so distracted by those sorts of things that you don't understand what is actually ongoing in this country.
You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.